Hey, good evening. Welcome to Foreigner in the Philippines. Another day at the, not a day, but call in at the hospital because we're still trying to help the family of baby Jane. Boy, this is where being a foreigner is something of a drawback because I can't speak the language. Beth was not feeling well today, so she stayed home, and so I went in. I had some other things to attend to, but my last part of the day, of the afternoon, was to call in and find out how baby Jane was going on. Let me tell you this and try to make it so that it allows for both sides of a cultural mix, okay? Me being a foreigner and living in the Philippines. Now, it's not the same, believe me, if you're watching this and you're in America or you're in the UK, probably especially the UK and maybe Australia, because the actual Australia and New Zealand, as I've found out. If you take a child into a hospital there, you're, especially, as I said, New Zealand, Australia, and the UK, the child would be taken care of straight away, irrespective of interference from the parent. The parent may have considerations, things that they believe are so and may not be, but the doctor would, especially in the case of a broken leg, let me explain to you that I took baby Jane. Baby Jane has a condition known as osteogenesis imperfecta, which means that the bones are brittle, is how I understand it, because they break very easily. Now, almost the same time last year, right around Christmas, baby Jane broke a bone in the leg, and it was quite a complicated casting, because she was cast down above the knee on the right leg, and on the left leg, which was broken, a compound fracture, by the way, the casting was right down to the ankle and including the ankle, so just the toes pointing out, and the casting came up right up into her stomach, just under the rib cage, in fact. So it was a complex setup, and a rod across which kept the legs open, and a gap in the casting so that the child could do bodily functions. That was the case last year. Now this time it was a similar thing. Now it's very difficult for a foreigner to understand this. Believe me, I have trouble myself. But we went round a couple of days ago, and we found out, we heard kind of secondhand that baby Jane had had an accident, or was not well, or something. As soon as I heard that, I said, based on experience, that this would be this is the third time now that we've taken baby Jane in for a break. Twice, let me see, twice, the third time, all legs. She was trying to skip once when she broke one of her legs. What any child would be. She is about 8, I think, 8 or 9. So I went in to the house. We're very familiar with this family, okay? So it's not like I'm going in and barging into someone's home. It's just not like that. So I went in. We support this child now for monthly, for supplements, for extra vitamins with added calcium, in the hope that we might be able to help on that. So we went in and we find that a week ago she broke her leg. Now, this is where it's very difficult to understand it. So obviously, people have rights, but as a foreigner, of course, the rights of a child are beyond dispute. So eventually I got my way, and we took the child that we call Baby Jane. It's a catchy name that we set when we first met Baby Jane. Her name is Jenilyn. So we took her to hospital there and got an x-ray, and then at the emergency room they spoke to the doctor who would be handling the break, and he said to admit the child. So I think that this was Sunday that we did this. So she was admitted. We sent for, and the good news for the family was that it was not in Ubay. Ubay is, for an ordinary family without their own transport, is something like 2 or 2.5 hours away. So they were very relieved for that. Now, there's a reluctance for the child to go into hospital. There's no understanding this if you're a foreigner. You're just not, well, if I'm anything to go by, you're just not going to be able to understand this. But you must have seen the video. So we went there yesterday. The doctor had been in, but the parent was not there at that time, and he needed to have a document signed saying it was okay for him to go ahead and do the casting. So when I went yesterday, still no change, still no casting on the child's leg. I went in today, and to my horror, to my surprise, to my dismay, still no casting. And the mother does not speak hardly any English, and as you know, I speak hardly any Visayan. So finally, in desperation, I called the nurse and said, can you translate? And it turns out that the mother and the father don't want, for their own reasons, mostly monetary, they don't want the child to have a casting. They just want to take her home and let the leg heal however it will. But of course, as a foreigner with a little, just modesty apart, a little education on breaks, if only because of Baby Jane, we know that it's not going to give her a straight leg. She's not going to be able to walk properly. So we finally got it through, and she will be receiving a cast tomorrow, all going well. People can change their minds, and culture is very heavily ingrained. People are Filipino if they're Filipino, and they're foreigners if they're foreigners. So we will hope that everything will be okay tomorrow, and we will sort it out with the doctor. Let's hope. Somehow there's nothing that can prepare you for the degree of difference, just how much things are different between Filipino people and foreigners of almost any kind from the West. We just don't deal with problems in the same way. We are conditioned more than we know, and this conditioning is sometimes good and sometimes it's not so good. But in this case, it's difficult for a foreigner to understand how a child can sit there with a broken leg, and after 2 days, or actually it's after 9 days now, isn't it? It was already 7 days since the break had occurred. That's another thing that's very difficult to understand. So we're looking at 9 days and still no cast. we will see what we see tomorrow, and I'll let you know. As always, have to put for the time being that we are not soliciting funds, neither directly, indirectly, left or right, up or down, for any of our projects. Don't forget that. This is it, foreigner in the Philippines, speaking for, well, I'm a foreigner in the Philippines. I should be saying that I'm speaking for Terence and Beth, Giving Hope Inc. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.